Welcome to the Hub Podcast. I am your host, Cheney Passer. With me is New Age Britney Spears, pigtails, MTV sweater, windbreaker, words.
Courtney Briggs. This windbreaker. Have you seen this or have you worn this yet?
No.
It does, like, it's one of the, you know how certain outfits just like bring out vibes?
An attitude?
This one, I feel like I need to be breakdancing. It's like, I need to be like just doing this all the time.
Did you ever want to change your name as a kid?
All the time.
What did you want to change?
I hate my name.
You can change it now.
I don't hate my name.
How weird would it be?
I just don't like it that much. What?
How weird would it be if you changed your name now? Like, especially like after us dating for 5 years, I just got to like start calling you a different name.
It would be dumb. Well, and all the things like connected to it, it's like it would be, I would really have to hate it, or there'd be like an emotional tie to hating it or to wanting to change it, just because like the hassle that would be, like all the documents you need to change it on, all the people, the emails and the,
Yeah.
I don't know, seems like
You know, it'd be the perfect
you really
time.
want to change it, you change it, but
The perfect time to change it would like be right after high school. Because like
reinvent yourself.
That's what everybody says. Like when you go to college or you leave high school anyways, it's like, yeah, people are trying to not trying, they literally are kind of reinventing themselves, and like they don't feel like they're a part of that whole, you know, they don't have to be that person anymore. So they just, and plus like that's where everything starts to, you kind of get your own email. You kind of are getting all of these new things and setting up these new things. That'd be the perfect time to change your name.
What would you want to change yours to?
I don't know. Maybe like Chad.
No. I always wanted
Skylar.
I always wanted it to be Caroline.
When I was a kid, I wanted it to be Luigi.
When I was really little, you want to know what I wanted to be? Bianca. That's what I was like, oh, it'd be so cool. It's like even as a kid, I was like, that's like super exotic and cool. Like I like wanted to like be, you know, just that girl even then.
Gosh, I'm so glad you've changed.
I just like wanted to be a salsa dancer. Like that was my life.
Yeah.
But nope.
Still Courtney.
Still Courtney. CKB.
Well, I feel like your windbreaker matches what we're talking about today.
How does it match? Explain.
I mean, it's just kind of that vibe. It's the cool guy vibe.
I mean, if you think of the topic as a cool guy thing.
I just feel like it's like so like beach vibe.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah. Well, okay, that actually totally makes sense then, because it's very showy. It's very like, look at me, to where those are definitely the look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
We're talking about calves and abs.
Abs and calves and abs. The showy muscles.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. As a girl, you never hear like, oh, I wish I could grow up my calves. But almost all guys are like, oh, my calves, they suck. They're so small.
Well, that's what I was going to say is the guys, the guys want them, the girls got them.
Yeah.
It's like the girls always have calves and abs, and the guys always want calves and abs.
Yeah. And guys typically always have like the strong muscle, like the strong leg muscles and glutes.
Yep. And that's what girls want.
Just naturally. Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny. So yeah, that's what we're talking about today. How to get abs, how to get calves, how to program it to do that, and maybe just little tips and tricks that aren't as common when talking about these two, which is weird because both of these, now that I'm thinking about it, both of these body parts, they kind of are mistrained? No. Improperly trained than any other ones. Like they like the way that people sometimes don't train them correctly are the exact same as each other. You know, of like the whatever, we'll get into it.
No, I don't know.
Like
we can get into it now.
Okay, so like I feel like calves, when you think of people doing calves, it's a lot of high reps with very little weight. You know, like people going on the leg press and just going.
Yeah, and doing like
boom,
25.
boom, 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 boom. And then same thing with abs, just doing as many as you can until you burn out.
Yeah.
Rather than like putting on load for both of them.
Yeah, it's like you're exhausting the muscle.
Yeah.
And 25 repetitions.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree.
I just thought of that.
And that's not really the way to go about it. If you're going for size, if you're trying to build out size, it should be programming it just like you would program anything to build out size. Lots of weight and lower repetitions,
Yeah.
putting a bunch of weight on so that, you can only do 5, you can only do 10. But I think it is kind of odd, and maybe it's just because people did it this way, but it is kind of it is odd to think like I'm going to put, a whole bunch of weight on and just do 5 calf raises. But that's how you build size in anything, in any muscle.
It's such a short range of motion.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe why.
Yeah.
They're like, well, no, I can do more. I can do more.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about which I do kind of like the leg press or going on, it's like those seated ones where you put it on your knees, is that you can get the full extension and almost like the hyper extension of your ankle and then pressing through rather than just like flat up. I like when you can get a little bit more of the stretch in it, that it makes it seem like a little bit longer of a motion.
Yeah. And
same with abs.
Yeah.
Like on a Bosu ball, and then same thing, getting a full extension and then kind of feeling that rolling of the spine as you come up.
Yeah, abs are a little bit nicer because you have a variety of exercises that you can do with them. There's a whole plethora of things that you can do to, work different parts of your abs and that sort of thing, different parts of your core. But with calves, it's like calf raises and maybe trying to isolate and change different angles and stuff, but it's really pretty simple.
Yeah, it is simple, and it's like, I think the ways that people are missing the growth, I guess, like ways that you can change how you're doing it is so simple. Just like abs, like adding weight to it. It's like you don't really have to change the exercise at all. You don't really have to maybe change or do what you're doing differently. Like most exercises, it's probably like, no, you're doing it most wrong, and you need to switch it because of this, or you're programming weird. That abs, it literally tell you to just add weight and go slow.
But I think that's what's different about calves is like there's literally like only one exercise that you can do for them. You can maybe go into a couple different machines, but it's all just a calf raises. Mm-hmm. Where abs, it's like you can do crunches, planks, hanging leg raises. You can do a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah.
To where calves is like it's only one.
Yeah.
And it's just you have to load a bunch of weight on.
What is I think because of my dance background, it makes me weird or eerie to think of it like doing like the 3-way calf. For some reason I can't. I know it's not bad, but I think because with dance and there only being one way to do it, having it like an inverted stance and then going up, I feel like I'm just doing something really wrong.
Well, and I think people kind of over exaggerate it. Oh, they turn really far out or they turn really far in, to where your calf muscle, like your gastrocnemius, you can't really, I don't know, it's not going to work that differently. It's kind of like a bicep curl. Like everybody goes really wide grip or really narrow grip and neutral. And if you're focusing on squeezing the different parts, you're going to get a little bit, but it's not like a major difference. It's not a major difference. So
yes.
I think with doing like a 3-way calf or changing the angle of your foot, which if you're changing the angle of your foot, you also got to try to change the angle of your knee just for injury prevention, because you want your knee in line with your toe at all times. But it's not going to do that much. It's not like a different exercise, It's just to have you maybe activate different parts more in your feet versus your calf, honestly.
Sure. Yeah.
The thing that I have found that has grown my calves the most is running.
That makes sense.
It's not even weightlifting. And
that makes sense.
I think it's more of I just kind of picked up running over the last maybe 2 years. And I never really did run long distances before. I think it's just because I wasn't a runner and haven't done much running. But then, me going out and doing something that I'm not used to doing, it's a new stimulus, and that's what's grown my calves the most. To where I've kind of backed off of doing a whole bunch of weightlifting for the calves because after, the next day after my runs, my calves are pretty sore. They're really sore. They're not used to it. So I haven't really done it, to where I wonder if I went back into weightlifting, like heavy calf workouts, if they would blow up a little bit more. But yeah, so I think even that, think about what your whole activity is, and maybe something like that, running, or, gosh, I don't even know. Running and calf raises.
Like I think as far as like
hiking.
Yeah, like why is running boosting the growth? I think it's that press off. It's the quick action that, running, hiking, like if you're talking about cardio specifically, like Stairmaster, and still really articulating through your ankle, which is what I'm going to bring up. But I'm going to take a real hard sidetrack quickly. I love in movies when they're trying to show like who they're sponsored by, and then it's like a drink or something, and they just walk in with like the label perfectly shown.
Yeah.
Like, but they don't talk about it, but it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I just felt like I was doing that with the Jocko drink.
Oh, I thought you went the MTVs, right?
I don't think where are their sponsors?
Yeah, I don't think this show would be sponsored by MTV.
But when you said like running was when your calves got the biggest, for me, it was when I started training in point. So for anybody that doesn't know, that's like the version of ballet when like you go up on your toes. So you're wearing the shoes that you get to go up on your toes. But I think because of that, I don't think it was because I was literally doing like calf raises more, but my ankles and my feet had to become so strong to be able to wear the shoes and dance and do all of the movements, that I think because my ankles and my feet got stronger, it was able to support, say, like more muscle. It was able to produce more productivity that attributed to my calves.
Yeah.
So that could be another thing too, is if you got super weak ankles and you're not focusing on that in your mobility or just in your regular strength, programming, thinking of where those, and this could go for anything, but I think calves, because we're using it so often, thinking of where your connection points are. I gotta move this cord. I keep moving this. Thinking of where your connection points are. So like strengthening your ankles, strengthening your knees, so that everything in between like is able to withhold when you're building that power, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of a separated example, but we bring it up all the time, of like deadlifts. Your legs can maybe lift the weight, but your grip strength can't. To where, thinking of it in the same sense, it's just more directly kind of located, to where it's like your ankles can't support that much weight. So you need to strengthen the tendons and ligaments in your ankles or in your feet so that, you can. Because your calves might be able to do more weight, but when you're starting to push up, you can feel the weakness and the wobble in the ankles, like they want to roll out or they want to roll in. That's kind of showing you that area is weak and needs to be strengthened.
Because even going to your running example, like what's producing maybe the power or the press off to be able to kind of like maybe build that muscle, like you're not going to be able to push that much power or be able to withhold that much power and strength in your actual calf muscle if those other, because your body's just trying to keep the balance. So they're going, well, no, we're not going to give you all the strength there because you're going to not use it correctly because these two are going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So just making sure that, you're thinking about the whole section. Right.
Well, and a lot of times that happens too with people that have ankle injuries or knee injuries or injuries in their foot. That calf, or even up to like the quad, the hamstring, the glute on that side of the leg, that one typically develops slower or not as well because you're not fixing that ailment that has happened within there. So kind of like what you're saying, your body wants to stay balanced and it has an ailment. You got to fix that ailment before you can start, loading a bunch of muscle onto those joints and ligaments.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good one, like calf raises, but that are heavily loaded, not just doing the pumping reps, and adding some sort of plyometrics. Maybe
Yeah.
if that's not
Yep.
what you're doing, like
Totally.
slow, not slow, but like something like box jumps, but not doing them
No.
over and over, doing one big power jump, coming back off, resting.
Yep.
One big power jump, or like the, what are they called? Is it broad jump?
Yeah, like a broad jump.
Like
just
a broad
jumping
jump
forward.
where you're just trying to produce as much force as you can from that roll off all the way articulating through your feet and then landing properly. Because that's the same like with the running approach. Like you're just trying to pump as much power off of that area that I don't know, like it is, at least for dance, we learned so much, like it's your calves, it's your ankles, and your feet. That's what makes you jump.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of almost purposefully trying to work on that, your calves are going to compensate in a good way.
Well, and that's what I would say too, is when you're doing that, really try to focus on using that area when you jump, because it's kind of easy to just go, I have to just, jump as far as I can. You're just kind of going, no, think about what you're doing. Think about using your feet and, like you said, rolling off the foot and using your calf, like aggressively flexing it so that it, launches you forward or up. I think another thing is even doing them single leg. That's a touch more advanced, I would say.
Yeah.
Just because of, the balance and the landing especially.
Yeah.
But and I would say too, with the box jumps, have just as much focus when you're jumping off and down too, because that's like your deceleration, that's like your eccentric phase of that exercise. With your bicep, you do the curl up. When you start coming back down, that's the eccentric part. You're getting a lot of benefit from that if you're focusing on it, just like on the box jump when you're jumping down. So don't just kind of like step down or whatever. Act like that jumping up is the first half of the lift, and then jumping off and down is the second half of the lift.
Yeah. Yeah, and even just like during your regular workouts, trying to maybe do things more single leg. Like you're doing bicep curl, do it single leg, because that's going to force you to stabilize, which is then going to help that foot and ankle strength. Like when we're doing yoga and she has us doing those poses like just single leg, and then we're having to like transition through, oh my gosh, my ankles are on fire.
Yeah.
And then it works into my calves.
Yeah.
So that's just something that we don't have to focus on that often.
Yep.
That you do kind of have to program it in yourself.
Yeah. I think another big thing, and this kind of applies for both calves and abs, is for some reason, just like what we talked about with the repetitions, for some reason, everybody's tempo for it is so opposite or different. Like you'll do a strength phase and, you'll be doing your heavy chest press and your heavy barbell row and heavy squat, and you're loading up weight, and you're really slowing the tempo down and focusing on the contraction and pushing up, and then all of a sudden you go to abs and you'll grab, you won't grab any weight, and then you'll do 25 repetitions and you're doing it really jerky and fast. People do it with calves as well. These aren't like different muscles compared to the rest. You want to approach them and program them the same as you would the other ones, to where if you're wanting to build out size, or just in general, when you're lifting and doing weight training with them, like slow and controlled, they're just having a solid tempo of like, I'm focusing on contracting the muscle as I'm, say calf raises, as I'm going up, I'm contracting. And then when I come down, you want to control it back on the way down. There's just so many people that they jerk up and they jerk back down. And it's the same thing that happens with abs too.
Yeah. Yeah. What I like to cue for when like I'm working with my kids or my students, or like when I would teach those big classes, it's like when we were doing abs, practicing it without weight first, but practicing it, say, with like your arms directly above you and not allowing your arms to fall forward. You have to go slow so that you can keep that position, rolling all the way up and then rolling all the way back down, but explaining it and thinking of your spine going vertebrae by vertebrae on the way up and then vertebrae on the way down. I actually have in one of our videos, I think we do a weighted crunches how to. So look, maybe we can link that down below in the description of that video, because I talk about there being 4 points: your head, in between your shoulder blades, the middle of your back, and then right above your tailbone. Thinking about hitting those 4 points as you roll up, of a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4 on the way back down. Because I think a lot of people, they just go head, full body down, head, full body down. That if you can roll through and articulate, and then articulate as you come down, you're going to have more control. And when you do that, you're actually activating your abs. Most of the time when you're doing just the up and then down and up and down, and you're just doing it in 2 chunks, you're working more of your hip flexor than you are even your ab muscles. Yeah. So those quick repetitions and not articulating through, great. It's great to work on your hip flexors, but have that be the intention then. If you're wanting to work on your abs, work on your abs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the case with abs and calves, is it's people usually just put it at the end of the workout, and it's kind of like I'm supposed to do this, or I need to do this, and it's just kind of a get through it, to where, I mean, think about the attention and focus you put into your chest press or your squat. You want to put that same energy into the calves and the abs, because there's a reason why it's not happening for you, and for most guys it's not, and they're always wanting more. It's because they're just not putting the attention and focus that they should.
Sure. I think with abs, the biggest thing that I would really just suggest for most people, before you get into like what specific exercises you would do and how you'd program it and all of that kind of stuff, the 2 main things for me would be slowing down the movement and adding weight. 2 things that I think people are missing, that it's like, yeah, you could be more specific with what exercise you're doing, of crunches versus Russian twists versus hanging leg raises, and what's better for you. But if you're doing them all wrong, it doesn't help you as much. So that's what I would just say is slow down, articulate through each movement, and add weight to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a more specific, detailed version of what I was saying, of just have an intention, like focus on it, and really try to, I don't know, give it the same attention that you would your squat. You're not just dropping down into a squat and then jerking up. Like, you're really focusing on what you're doing on the way down and on the way up. Like, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about what specific, maybe let's do kind of the same thing that we did with the last episode, of just going maybe back and forth of what your favorite ab exercises are.
I think mine's probably this sit-up.
Like a full sit-up?
Yeah, a full sit-up. I think it's just
classic.
I see that as like the compound lift of the ab exercises kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're just getting one of the fullest ranges of motions that you can with it. And it's really difficult to do it correctly, but when you do it correctly, it's super effective.
I think what I would suggest to people would be the reverse crunch. So you're basically doing a crunch, but you're just rolling up through, like your hips are rising off the ground, and then you're trying to control it on the way down. Why I would suggest this is it helps you practice what I was talking about of the articulating, because you don't want to just roll up and just like shoot your feet up in the air. You have to control the whole way, and you can tell kind of when you're not, because your hips will hit the ground. But I think me personally, what my favorite is a incline, decline, sit up with weight. Those, I just like those. I don't know. It's something different, and I feel like I really can lengthen at the bottom. And then because there's a bench, I think I can feel myself like peeling off of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I like that.
I think the one that would apply apply the most or benefit the most is plank. It's the boring one. Nobody
Yeah.
likes it, but you think of every exercise that you do, typically what your core is doing is stabilizing. It's not really contracting and
Yeah.
relaxing. It's stabilizing and holding there. So that one's going to help all of your other I mean, think about your squat, think about your deadlift, think about bench press,
Walking around.
barbell row, walking, hiking, running, anything and everything you do, your core is typically stabilizing. So the activity or exercise to practice that is plank, and you can do it time wise. You can do it where you even load weight onto your lower back. That one just, it's the boring one and it's not the fun one, but I think it's the most beneficial.
I'm going to add on to that if you want to go a little bit more extreme with your plank too, besides the weight on your back, is I like the, I don't know what the name of it is or if there even is a name, and this guy just kind of coined it as his own. But it's where you kind of like press through your chest. So you're, instead of having a flat back, you're almost like trying to do like a turtle shell. So you're trying to almost contract your stomach and then hold it rather than just like a neutral spine. I always like that just because I think it helps me almost like do two things at once, like stabilize and act like I'm sounding very stupid. Do you know what I'm saying though?
Somewhat, yeah. It feels more active rather than just just like stabilizing.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
yours
think
is a
both.
plank.
I think do both. Because you're not always doing that when you're squatting, I guess. You're not trying to make a rounded when you're squatting, but
I'm gonna do another kind of holding movement that's not your typical, I guess, like exercise, but a vacuum pose. I really started, maybe not a true vacuum pose, but a version of that. I started adding that in, I would say maybe 2 or 2.5 years now. And I think it helped me see where my weaknesses in my core are, of like, I can really contract and condense my right side. My left side isn't as connected. So then if I connect that to like, okay, squats, if I start to get a little loose, do I start to rotate into my right side? Because that's where my dominant muscles am I able to contract are. That what does that interfere with in my other lifts? And just, the act of just squeezing in and holding and bracing on your own without an active force against it is really hard for me, but I like working on it.
Yeah. I think the other one for me, it's more of a general, but I think the twisted ones, the rotating ones, when you have weight loaded and you having to rotate, that is just a day-to-day thing that we do, is, rotating at the core and moving and twisting and stuff, that putting that under load and really working on that and strengthening those areas. I think it's just it's something that really helps your day-to-day. And again, it's maybe more of an injury prevention thing, and quality of life thing, but I think that one's super important. Whether it's like a cable twist or Russian twists, even though those can be pretty difficult to do them correctly.
Sure.
That's why I would rather somebody do cable twists, but that rotating, we do that a lot and we don't really realize it. And we don't ever really work on being strong in that area.
Well, and that's one thing that I didn't realize earlier on, was that there are like 2 panels of your abs. So like if you want to work on the main section that everybody thinks of like the 6-pack as, that is going to be your crunching motion, or your, well, not your planks are more stabilizing, but like your crunching motion, to where obliques, they will help in that, but they're not necessarily going to build that way. Those run this way along your body. So you have to, what's the opposite of that? Or how are you contracting the muscle? It's with the rotation. It's with the twist.
Yeah.
So having both of those in there, not just, oh, this is an ab exercise. No, this is an oblique. This is your transverse. This is your kind of isolating them so that you know what to feel and know what to kind of think about contracting more.
And I think that brings up a good point for core, and it's kind of what we weren't able to talk about with calves just because calves are so one-dimensional. But with ab exercises, you want to do them all. You know, you don't want to just go in and do crunches or go in and do crunches and sit-ups and leg raises and reverse crunches. Like, you're only working one plane then. You know, you got to have some twisting in there. You got to have some stabilization because your core is doing all three of those things all the time. That if you only work the one, this is also what's going to limit you in your growth of, you know, getting a six-pack or just strengthening your abs, whatever you're looking for. You got to do all three phases. You know, it's maybe doesn't look like the same or seem the same, but it's like if you were to go in and only do quads. You never work your hamstrings, you never work your glutes, maybe never work your calves. You only go do quads. Well, your legs are only going to get so big, they're only going to get so defined if you're only working one muscle group in that area. It's the same with your core. You got to work like the transverse, you got to work the middle section where that six-pack lies. And then you got to work on your stabilization too, because that's going to help.
I don't like hanging leg raises, but I definitely see the benefit and the potential of them. And I like when I program them in, I see the results from it. To me, besides the swinging aspect of them, like cheating with it, they're kind of hard to cheat. Yes, you can lift your knees up, but if you know, okay, this doesn't count until my hips rotate under, it's harder to cheat those, I think.
Oh, I think that's, maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying. Like, I feel like those are, I feel like those are extremely easy to do wrong and not get the benefit from. They're so easy to do incorrectly.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe just for me, they're hard to cheat. Because I can tell the difference of I'm just lifting my leg versus I am like tucking my tailbone under.
Yeah, I don't think I'm understanding your terminology. They're hard. I don't get hard to cheat. Like, I think they're extremely easy to cheat. You know, it's like a crunch or a sit up. I mean, they're extremely easy to cheat. Like you said, most people just bring their head up and then they just use their hip flexors. Like, those are super easy to cheat.
See, they're all easy to cheat. I think they're easier. Okay, you're right. To me, they're easier. They're both easy to cheat. It's easier to tell when you are cheating, I think, with the leg raises. I think with the sit-ups, people can't always feel the rolling up or rolling down unless you're really tuned in. To where for me with the hanging leg raise, I can feel if my hips are tucking under or if I'm just lifting my legs up or if I'm just lifting my knees. To where I can tell, no, this is just working my hip flexors because my knees are coming up, but I'm not crunching.
Got it. I get what you're saying now.
But yeah, they're both super easy to cheat.
Yeah.
You know, you hang on a bar and you're swinging to get your legs up.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult to get some momentum with that going.
I think to kind of go back to what we were talking about in the beginning of how to, you know, maybe program this or get the results you want with it. Like, if you're trying to build size, focusing on loading the weight on all of these exercises, you know, whether it's the crunches, sit-ups are going to be really difficult to do just because it's a difficult exercise to do by itself correctly. But crunches, you know, Russian twists, cable twist, planks, all of these, you want to load up the weight and do, you know, 5 to 10 reps. You don't want to do what you probably see most of the time of like people get done with their real workout and then they go do their abs at the end and they're just sitting there doing 25 of everything. It's
and
like,
no rest period in between.
Yeah, right. No rest period in between. You're just burning it out. You're not really working on building the size of your abs. You're just burning
muscle
them
endurance.
out.
You're getting muscle endurance, which
Right.
unless that's what you're going for, great.
Right.
But yeah, if this episode is about building abs and creating a nice midline area, Yeah, add the weight. Do it like you'd program anything else. Stay within your rep range. Add rest periods in between so that your muscle has time to relax and then go full force again at it. And I would say don't let it be a just, oh, okay, I'll just add it on thing. If this is something you're wanting to focus on, just like anything else, add it within your program and maybe up the volume a little bit to make sure that, like, okay, this is your focus. Maybe you do it at the beginning of your workout and you're putting all your energy into that, or you're adding it, a little bit more frequently, or changing up your programming so that you're adding a new stimulus to it, but don't just see it as an afterthought. Because I think abs are an easy thing to just make an afterthought, or even calves. Like, I'll just throw them on at the end of my workout.
And that's why they don't grow. And that's why, guys are always wanting them to be, better or bigger or whatever. You're not putting the intention towards it. You're just kind of doing it as an afterthought, and you're not putting that focus that it needs. But yeah, loading up the weight, doing them slow and controlled, just like you do everything else, adding the rest periods, giving yourself a variety of the mix, of the different types even. And the other thing that I was thinking with this is, you're trying to put on size. Typically what's happening is you're trying to put on size. So you've made your program around that. But then when you go to do abs or calves, you do 25 repetitions, and it's kind of not in line with what you're doing. And this could actually be what's hindering your growth on your other lifts. Like we said, think about what your core is doing when you're squatting or deadlifting or even bench pressing or barbell row. If your core is not able to handle holding that much weight, it's going to be super difficult for you to lift that weight and then get the results you want when you're doing your squats or you're doing your deadlift. So, but if you're training your core to become stronger by doing weighted planks and doing, holding a 45-pound plate above you when you're doing crunches, and, doing these really loaded core exercises, that's going to help you with your other lifts as well.
Another good stabilization one that I thought about when you said that was farmer carries.
Yeah.
I love those. I should start doing those. Those are, well, how are we going to do those? More plates. But I really like that for so many reasons. I like because you have to hold your posture with that. You have to, you're stabilizing the entire time, and it works on your grip strength, which is just always my downfall. I love those.
Yeah.
I forgot about those. I don't think about those as an ab exercise.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really do them often anyways, but.
And like you said, you're using your grip too. I mean, there's a lot going on with those.
Yeah.
And are you talking about on both sides?
Yeah.
Or, on both sides, now just do one side.
Ooh.
There's even more of an ab exercise with it.
Yeah.
Keeping that posture, just holding a dumbbell or something on the other side. Typically what you want to do is you want to lean to where the dumbbell is, but you're having to keep your posture straight up. And then you're just simply walking. And that's, you talk about a active exercise, you're working on so many different things in it.
That's carrying your groceries. How much, how everyday functional is that?
And then I think on the reverse end, what most people are doing when they do abs and calves with doing that 25 repetitions and short rest periods and, holding, I don't know, maybe you're holding a plank for 5 minutes because it's just, you can do it all day. I feel like those are still helpful and they can still be applied. They're just typically applied at the wrong time. Like what we're saying, people are trying to build their abs out and you're doing 25 repetitions and no weight, to where when you're wanting to, really chisel out, you're wanting to get defined, or you're wanting to work on your muscle endurance, this is kind of where you would apply that type of programming, where it's high repetitions, low weight, you're really burning out the muscle, that sort of thing. You should still be programming it just like you are your other exercises. Say you're doing 12 to 15 repetitions, do the same with your core and your calves. But it's just taking that and applying it to the right time.
And I also see with the chiseling aspect of it, if you're cutting, that's what I love and why I think is misunderstood with abs is you do want to build them out, because to show abs, you do need a lower body fat percentage. That the more that you build the muscle out, the lower percentage you have to be able to see them, or to see some definition, or even just to see, like, for my stomach, I don't really ever push to have abs, but my stomach always has shape and definition. And I think, like, yeah, I could get abs if I lower my body fat percentage, but because I think about building out my core and building out my muscles in that area, it always just looks shapely, and I don't have to be at a low body fat percentage.
Yeah, and I think that's a reason for, like, doing the heavy weighted core exercises, is that's what helps build them out and kind of just tightens that area in general.
Yeah.
But I think we don't need to talk about it on this one, but I think we should say, if you want your abs to show, a lot of it's diet.
Yes.
You know, you have to address that, and you have to make sure that you are eating a clean, healthy diet. But
for men, it's going to be a little bit, like, men always sit a little bit lower than females do. So you're going to have to drop, I think, whether, like, females is, like, depends on your body style, but I think it's like 13% body fat, to where guys, like, you can get all the way down to,
you can get low,
like, 9, and then you can see that,
like, even lower.
Even lower than that. Yeah. I think that's also a huge part of it, unfortunately, and fortunately, I guess. Like,
that's where
what you're eating does matter.
That's where most people carry body fat, is in the stomach region.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and to get that to show, that's going to be a factor for sure. But I think on the weightlifting side, that kind of like what you were bringing up and alluding to is we don't have the perception that we should about it, of building it out, literally building those muscles so they become bigger so that they can show through. We kind of think of it as, like, we got to do a whole bunch of repetitions so that it gets cut into fine, but you're just going to be doing those all day long. And they're just going to be these teeny tiny little muscles underneath, to where you need to make them big and strong and push through.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what I love about doing the vacuum poses as well, is it kind of elicits that. I feel like for more females care about this, is like, yes, you are building out and you're wanting to build muscle in that area, but for most females, you don't want to have that, like, boxy, blown out ab look. Like, you still want to probably be more tight or shapely. That doing those vacuum poses was huge for me, of keeping that same maybe circumference, but just my abs were showing through, and it was a little bit tighter of a look. So vacuum poses are really awesome for that. And it helps you being able to figure out how to contract and activate those areas then when you're doing just regular ab exercises. It's like what we talked about in the last episode of priming, that you're sending that signal to that area so that okay, when I go do my crunch or my sit up or my Russian twist or whatever, I know what activating and tensing that area feels like. So then you can tell, oh, I'm doing it wrong, or I'm using all my hip flexors.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think that's it for me on this episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
We can always come back to this topic if we get, comment too. If you have any questions about either, we can definitely address it. But I think that's a pretty good general information that I feel like people don't really know about those areas, and I feel like it's a common one that people do wrong typically. That's kind of why we wanted to do this episode, and just kind of lay out a general plan for people that may look at it incorrectly.
Yeah, and could help you so much. Like, my stomach changed aesthetically like a crazy amount, and very quickly, when I just started adding weight.
Yeah.
To, like, simple things. Like, it's not like I added a whole program of abs. Like, I just was doing simple crunches, Russian twists, the stabilization stuff, but just adding weight to it. And also going back to kind of, I feel like we talked about this maybe 2 episodes ago, of that also muscle memory stays there too. So even if you're not as consistent, or you're not trying to, like, push for the 6-pack right now, but you're just in your kind of maintenance phase, your stomach still keeps that definition just because simply you have muscle there.
Yeah.
So it's easier to kind of bounce back to that 6-pack the next time if you want.
Yep. Yeah. All right, cool. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, all of the things. Our Facebook page, The Hub Fitness, and our Instagram, The Hub Fitness _ no, what am I saying? The Hub _ Fitness. I'm going too fast. Email us at thehub.fitcrew@gmail.com. And yeah, comment, like.
Click the bell so that you know when we have new ones coming out. We are going to start uploading consistently on Monday and Thursday, so you can look out for episodes each week and other fun stuff that we're going to be kind of adding to the channel. But still, click on the bell so that you for sure know when new stuff is coming out.
Yeah, and you can be the first to comment.
Set it on your calendar. Write it in your phone calendar that our podcast is coming out.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks for watching.